You find yourself in front of the vault door. You are wearing a blue jumpsuit, which means that you are a vault dweller. The guard says that everything is ready, all that's left is to get the others, a cowardly resident, and a grumpy doctor named Moreau. Dr. Moreau explains your mission. You will go to the surface. The sensor equipment outside is broken, so there is no way to know when it's safe to leave the vault. You have to collect the data manually. You gather your group and head outside. The outside world greets you with piles of rubble, howling winds, and hostile fauna. Fortunately, the guard provides enough protection from the beasts. You do your job, downloading data from nearby sensors. The last ones are located high on a cliff. You separate from the others, and using your wits, complete your mission. Was that a scream? Looks like it came from a vault's entrance. When returning, you are met by a frightened guard. His hands shake with fear. The lifeless corpse of your fellow dweller lies nearby. Dr. Moreau is nowhere to be found. The guard points a gun at you, telling you to get back into the vault. In the next few years, Dr. Richard Moreau, exiled from a Vault 8 for murder, will change his name to Gray. Soon after, he will suffer an accident, and then become known as Master, a being responsible for creating an army of supermutants, an unstoppable force assaulting the wasteland. Thousands will die. You know nothing about it. You make your choice of either returning to the vault or leaving it in search of Moreau, and you find yourself in front of the vault door. What? What happened? Why are you dressed differently? Is it even the same vault? Are you even the same person? You step outside and whoa, there's a town there! Suddenly you get a message from the overseer to visit the security chief. He has a mission for you. Time to get some explanations. What makes the Fallout game a Fallout game? A radioactive wasteland? Super mutants or Brotherhood of Steel, bottle caps, ghouls, enclave, loads of different power armors, or a wacky world to explore. Fallout of Nevada is a fan-made prequel mod for Fallout 2 the size of Fallout 2. It has very little of the typical features of the series. No super mutants, no Brotherhood of Steel, dollars instead of bottle caps, power armor is almost non-existent, and the world is strangely logical. And yet, it feels like Fallout to the very core. It's kind of a prequel to the first and second games, taking place 20 years before the first Fallout. The story revolves around Vault 8 in its early years after opening. Some locations and characters make a return, but mostly the game stands for its own pretty well. I'm going to talk about why Fallout Nevada is a good Fallout game, a good prequel, and a good game in general. But first, about how to play it. The game went through several major releases while being developed. The last official version is 1.02. You can find it on the Nevada Band site, but as I'm recording this video, it's in Russian only and is quite bugged. The task of keeping the game alive was picked by certain individuals from Russian Fallout modding community, which led to a creation of Crazy Edition. It had loads of useful fixes and changes, a handful of new locations of mixed quality, and a doggo as a companion. Look at that doggo. But it used heavily the graphics from Olympus, talking heads from classic games, so it's a mixed bag. Now this version is discontinued. So the best way to experience Fallout Nevada now is to download so-called Extended Edition by the Russian modder named Pyran. It includes most of the fixes from Crazy Edition, but tries to keep things close to vanilla experience. This Extended Edition already includes English translation, and its version was recently updated. As usual, the translation repository is open for everyone. Feel free to make changes and fix stuff, especially if you want to narrate some parts. Do it, put your name in the credits with big letters, make the game better. It deserves that. Moving on to the story. So, after a short introduction, you walk out of the vault to witness the Vault City in its pre-Fallout 2 glory. Looks like you're one of its citizens. Everyone around treats you as such. Your jumpsuit looks different though. Is that a skull? Maybe the chief of security can give you some details. You go to the security chief and... Hey, that's Harold over there.
Hello there, smooth skin.
Anyway, security officer, name's Graves by the way, tells you the situation. You, a common citizen, went missing some time ago, but recently some guy on a motorcycle brought you back. Your memory was wiped clean. The biker demanded to see the overseer, claiming it's important. While inside the vault, he created a diversion and stole the device that is vital to the vault's safety. Then he disappeared. You don't remember any of that, but you obviously have a connection to that biker and to this city. So, as a patriotic citizen, you must retrieve the device, grab your stuff and get out. Now, what do we know about Vault City from Fallout 2?
Why do we condone slavery? The system has been in place for many years, and it works quite well.
They shoot ghouls on sight.
They busted down the door, busted up my stock, and then busted up a few of my customers, too.
And here you are, an amnesiac, seemingly affiliated with them, with a mission shoved right up your ass. How do you feel? Well, here's the thing. Your character is as new to this world as you are. This convenient amnesia gives you an excuse to do and feel whatever you want. You can care about this little faction of assholes or not because game tells you to, but because it's your choice. But you still have a mystery to find out who you were, and you can solve it as you progress. About 2 minutes into the game by hacking the medical computer in your vault. Spoiler, you are no one. You did nothing significant. You didn't matter until you became a blank slate and your identity was rewritten by the local doctor who didn't really know what he was doing. The whole thing about leaving the vault that you went through in the beginning is just a dream you had, and the inhabitants of the Vault City are not supposed to have dreams. This fact further separates you from that faction. You are special, you know it. I mean, of course you are. And with that in mind, let's go exploring. Your fellow citizens are busy with their daily routines. They are walking around the streets, adjusting to the outside world after years spent in the vault, playing darts, doing their bureaucratic work, and exploring the sexuality of the opposite gender when no one's looking. They don't really seem to want to leave the city premises, nor do the guards allow them to. They are not at all like the faction you meet in Fallout 2, more like scared kittens. They are cautious because they are not really adapted to this world and look for ways to keep the danger to a minimum. They even use robots to scout the surrounding areas instead of doing it themselves. And there are no slaves around. Yet. You can directly influence that. A security officer asks you to find some people willing to exchange their freedom on benefits of the Vault technologies. That means safety, food, and medical care. And you can do it. But even if you won't, there is no guarantee it won't be done without you in the next 100 years. You know it will. It looks like your vault is located next to some kind of ruined opal mining village. What the hell was that? Looks like it happens when you walk near that huge truck. But what is it? What does it do? Oh, I get it. Let's talk about new mechanics. In Fallout Nevada, huge chunks of metal emit radiation, so you better be careful when walking around. There is also an infection, similar to radiation, which you get somehow. You basically accumulate it as you go. The Vault City dwellers have a weak immune system due to years of living in a vault. Makes perfect sense, by the way. The thing is, you don't have an indicator for infection. So when you start vomiting, maybe find something to cure yourself with. Or just ignore it. Maybe it will go away. Actually, the doctor in your vault told you about everything mentioned, but you didn't really pay attention, did you? He even explained how to craft antibiotics if you are away from civilization. So yeah, crafting is also present here. You can assemble items with workbenches or use campfires to cook something. It all feels very natural and adds additional layers to the gameplay. You find recipes as you go. Junk like empty syringes or mutafruits has some use. There are even some plants, such as brock flower bushes, that you can occasionally harvest to use in making stimpaks and such. They have a new graphics, not from Fallout 1 and 2. In fact, there are a lot of new graphics in this game, and while the quality of some things, like talking heads, shall we say, differs, the items and scenery objects fit the style of the classic games like a glove, and the music. It is just perfect. Made by Alexei Trofimov, also known as Nobody's Nail Machine. It's genius, rivaling, if not beating, Mark Morgan's classic soundtrack. The feeling it conveys is unmistakably Fallouty, but still very distinctive and memorable. For example, let's take a little detour. As you may recall, there is a little settlement in Fallout 2 called Gecko, a town of friendly ghouls located around a nuclear power plant. It should be somewhere nearby, so let's check it out. By the way, this place, along with Herald and Vault City, are good examples of why this game is a good prequel. Basically, when you see familiar things connecting your experience to previous games, they should not contradict what you already know and be plausible enough for you to agree with the interpretation. And that's the case here. But where the game really shines is the quests and world building, and I'm itching to illustrate it using my favorite location in the whole game. And that's the part when I'm starting to talk a lot of spoilery stuff, and as usual, the further the worse. So go here to skip the most of it, and then go play the game. Here we go. The town of Black Rock is one of the earliest places you will probably visit. It is a small village in the Nevada desert, located across the mountains to your vault. Some tents, some buildings, a cafe, a field of crops, some electricity generators, a water source, a Brahmin coral, a small cemetery, and a handful of people. There are several other settlements around, the farthest and largest being the city of New Reno. Rarely any caravan comes around. There are two guys in charge. One, William, owns a local cafe, and he's probably the first merchant you will meet. He's very talkative and often speaks about what's going on in town and around it. He's keen on meeting newcomers. He wants the town to grow, because more people means more workforce, more traders, and better life for the community. And he's not very wrong about that. The other guy is named Justin. He's a bit of an isolationist. He can be found in his shack. There is a huge windmill generator near his house, supplying the town with electricity. That is his doing. Justin cares about the town too, but in a different way. He thinks that William's welcoming policy will eventually lead to all sorts of criminals and scum coming to town. And he's not very wrong about that. To avoid the danger, he'd like someone to deal with every dangerous newcomer. That means all of them. So let's say you come to town for the first time and go straight to the cafe. You meet William. He immediately offers you to barter, laying out how trading works. I mean, you know it, but your character naturally does not. So you do that. Is that an energy pistol? Okay, that's the first thing the game does right. If you picked small guns as tagged skill, you probably already have a gun, picked at the starting location. If you tagged melee, all the same. If you tagged big guns, you're fucked anyway, but if you tagged energy weapon skill, you don't have to wait half of the game to actually battle someone. Here's your first weapon. You can even ask William about this little gun and get some exposition, with the quest of upgrading it. And to learn about a gang of raiders living in the nearby mountains and causing some trouble. That is going to be relevant later. You ask William to tell you more about the town. He says that the locals built it using piles of metallic garbage laying around. With some perception, you can guess that these piles were not garbage, but an exhibition of some sort. Now, what exhibition is held in this area of Nevada desert? That's another great thing Nevada does. Almost every settlement has a real prototype. That means you are less likely to stumble upon a town built around some gimmick like a nuclear bomb in the middle, but more likely onto something akin to the known landmarks and locations. The game emphasizes towns and people, not factions or gimmicks, which gives it a strange feeling of authenticity. Anyway, you can offer to help with the local problems. William asks you to deal with Jasmine, a beautiful girl from New Reno. She is a runaway prostitute, and she has a nasty rash which nobody knows how to cure, and you don't know either. Actually, the item needed for treating it can't be obtained until later in the game, so for now you can do nothing about it. Except chasing her out of town, of course. But if you want to complete this quest in a good way, you will have to return to this location later. This is another point to note. In Fallout New Vegas, for example, you have no reason to return to Good Springs after resolving the conflict with the Powder Gangers. Poor Doc will never see you again. Don't you wonder how he's doing there? Don't you miss him sometimes? In Fallout Nevada, even the first location, Vault City, has parts that are inaccessible to you from the start. You will have to get back to them. And I will get back to this point later, which is going to make it more awesome as we go. Anyway, you put the Jasmine matter on hold and ask William is there anything else you can do. And there is. A couple of nice guys recently arrived into town. They are runaway slaves. Those explosive slave collars around their necks kind of give them away. Runaway slaves usually mean that there are probably slavers looking for them. That can't be good for the town. You are asked to deal with the slaves in any way you see fit. And you have some options. To exile them from the town, to blow their heads off, Elder Elijah style, by activating their slave collars, or to decide that they are harmless, no one is looking for them, and they can benefit the town by doing some labor. Of course you have the option to remove the collars, but it requires a very high repair skill, which you probably don't have by now. So you will have to get back to it later. See? Again, get back later. Anyway, let's do some good. William is happy, Justin is not. The slaves are glad to be useful and get some honest work, so you take them to the stables. There you meet Eugene, Justin's hot-headed offspring, wearing a badass leather jacket. He's not very happy about what you do, and tells you not to mess with them. You don't get who is he talking about. William asks you to deal with another matter. One of his Brahmin went missing the other night. Everyone thinks that it's William's son's fault. He probably fell asleep on his watch, but something smells fishy here. You need to look into it. You find out that the boy definitely fell asleep on his watch. But there is more to the story. You find a loose plank in the Brahmin's pen, noticing the trail of footsteps beneath it. You follow them to find the Brahmin's eaten remains. A closer inspection reveals that he was shot in both heads with a homemade shotgun shells. William points you to the only person who has the right tools to make them, Justin. You confront him, but turns out he's not the only one capable of making ammo. There is a guy named Bolt, he confesses. He's a raider, a retired one. He was in a fearsome mole rats gang once, who were a real deal in these parts, but then it became difficult to actually get something valuable from robbing, so he left. Remember the raiders William mentioned when you first met? Now the gang is barely surviving, so they blackmailed Bolt into bringing them a Brahmin so they could eat. Man, that's sad. Bolt still deserves some points for trying to leave it all behind, so you can convince Justin he's just a prisoner of the situation. Or you can banish him from the town too. Anyway, there's another thing William asks you to do. A courier named Milo used to deliver gecko hides of a very high quality from a settlement nearby. He disappeared. You need to find out why. You visit the place, Gerlach, a tight little commune based on principles of collective labor and mutual aid, founded by an ex-caravan guard of the same name. Life in the wasteland can be very harsh, so the villagers severely punish any misdeed. For example, if you fell asleep on your watch, you are going to be burned down alive. No hard feelings. You find Milo's wife. She says he's been gone for several days. He left as usual, wearing his custom-made leather boots with a star on the sole. You return to Black Rock to find out more. Meet Bob, the local gravedigger. His only tooth and oddly shaped head make him very charismatic. Don't mind the stench. He practically sleeps with corpses, so it's a job thing. And look at his cool shoes. Where did you get that, Bob? You frighten him, and he tells you everything. The Mole Rats gang killed Milo, took his merchandise, and forced Bob to bury the body. Justin's son, Eugene, was with them. You confront Eugene. He doesn't even try to hide it. He's with the Mole Rats. Being raider is fun. You get to wear this cool leather jacket and shoot guns at people. Youth these days. You can convince him that it's not right, or tell his father to whoop his ass. You can even try to join the gang. Choices, choices, choices. The Nevada is great in giving you many choices along the way. These choices have noticeable consequences, which I am going to illustrate with my favorite Blackrock quest. Oh boy. Eugene tells you that raiders are assaulting some caravan as you speak. Did I mention that caravans are rare in these parts? An established trading route would influence the life of the settlement greatly. Eugene gives you a walkie-talkie, which the raiders use to communicate. You follow the signal. The gang sees you as you approach. You are outnumbered and overpowered, but you are offered a choice. The caravan is trapped in this cave. Smoke them out and you will walk away alive. For now, let's agree to the terms and go inside. Oh man, that's my favorite part and I'm gonna spoil it all. The cave has a couple of separate sections. One is inhabited by some red scorpions. The other ends in a landslide, cutting possible exit. That's where the caravan is. On the way you feel a slight breeze. It should mean something. Oh look, there's a way out. It is too small for the whole caravan to slip out unnoticed, but enough for a single person to go through. Outside you stumble upon the campfire mole rats used to cook their food, so they could maintain the siege for days. If only you had some poison, which you can actually learn to craft later in the game. But what if you don't have any right now? Doesn't it feel rewarding to solve the problem by being smart and observant, not by passing a fucking dialogue speech check? Anyway, let's count all the possible choices here. You can side with the raiders and smoke the caravan out, deal with the caravan by yourself, or run away from this, dooming the caravan in the process. You can help the caravan deal with the raiders by either murdering them with the mighty power of save and load, or by being smart and poisoning their food, either with poison or using scorpion tails, which you can get right there in the cave. You also can murder everyone, why not? 7 ways to solve such a simple quest. Choices. If you help Caravan, you are going to see them periodically in Black Rock. The settlement is affected by your actions. It is changing. In the Vault City, you can meet Citizen Jessie, who is afraid to leave the vault and go outside. You can convince her that it's not so bad there, and later see her walking around the streets. Visiting New Reno, you can take a quest of finding a missing prospectus. The parents of one of them can tell you that he went somewhere north. And then you return to Black Rock and who the hell are you? I don't know you. You weren't here before. The world is reactive. Your choices have consequences, which you can witness right away. That is so beautiful. I'm gonna cry now. What else? By the end of its quest line, the settlement feels bigger than it looks. All the interactions with other settlements, caravan, raiders in the mountains, it all creates the feeling that there is more to this place. And one more thing. You are not forced to deal with the local problems. You have a choice of walking away. It's not mandatory to involve yourself into the settlement's shenanigans. The world does not revolve around you. You are just passing through with your own mission. You can ask about the biker and be on your way, leaving them to sort it out themselves. That is the true freedom for me. To have an option, not to choose, not to care. By the way, about your mission. Fallout of Nevada is known for its notoriously convoluted, badly conveyed main quest, full of memorable stuff. And it's just itching to be discussed, so we have to ram through it to do it. Let's avoid everything not related to the storyline for the sake of timekeeping. And yeah, huge spoilers ahead. After giving you the mission to retrieve the device from the biker, Sergeant Graves advises you to check the nearest settlement, which is Black Rock. You travel there and ask around. You learn from the locals that the biker came through here, but headed south toward New Reno. You hit the road again. New Reno, the biggest little city in the world. A familiar place that looks nothing like it did in Fallout 2. It was lucky not to be directly hit by nukes during the Great War, but nevertheless had to deal with the aftermath. Famine, pestilence, and a savage civil war. The time when the locals, organized in gangs, were brutally exterminating each other, when the streets were filled with corpses, with rats feasting on them, hunger, poverty, truly dark times. Then a raider named Big Louie and his gang came to town and easily took out every major player, seizing power and establishing some semblance of order. Big Louie realized pretty quickly that running a gang and running a city were two different things. So, having an identity crisis, he left the place, leaving 2 of his best men to figure stuff out with the ruling. They didn't get along well. At the time of your arrival, New Reno is in a Mexican standoff. two opposing factions seeking to overthrow each other, and a ton of smaller organizations, crime bosses and gangs involved. This place has so much to do, you could spend weeks here. You don't care. You are here to learn more about the bikers. The owner of a local hotel, Luis Mordino, has the info you need. The bikers are a faction of individuals divided into small groups. They value freedom more than anything and are quite curious about the tech, not in a Brotherhood of Steel way. They just like to tinker with shiny new things, ride their motorcycles across the wasteland, punch faces in the bars, and get wasted. What a great guys. You find a way to contact them using the radio equipment of the local New Reno bunker. Posing as the man you are chasing, you learn that the bikers have gathered in a small town called Bridgeport. You go there. On the way, you are ambushed by a group of well-armed people, led by a person in a hooded robe. He tells you to abandon your quest. Just so you would understand him better, he punches you in the face from a mile away, and then leaves. You don't get it. Bridgeport is a little village built around a former ski resort. The locals are pretty much fed up with the bikers when you arrive. The conflict is inevitable. But you are here not for that. From a leader of the bikers, you learn that the man you chase, whose name is Jay by the way, is trying to infiltrate the Hawthorne military base. The place is deserted, but its defense systems are functioning, which prevents people from looting it all around. In this world, anything that has any value is already looted and used. No locked supermarket is going to wait for you to open its doors. It's already dismantled, down to the last piece of wood. If people can't get somewhere, then there's something that prevents them from doing it. And that's the case here. Let's see what this is about. When you arrive at Hawthorne, you get a text message. Yup, apparently your Pip-Boy is capable of that, because why the hell not? The message is from Jay. He tells you that to meet him, you have to wiretap the Hawthorne radar equipment, using the device located in the base's biggest warehouse. Sounds simple. Eventually you do that, and you wake up in the locked room. Jay looks at you from behind the glass. Looks like you fell right into a trap. You two have a talk. Turns out, he has nothing to do with you losing your memories or you getting a new personality. He doesn't even know what the device he stole does. He was employed by someone he knows very little about to just steal it from the vault, using your body as an excuse to get in. But being a big fan of tech, he became curious. So before stealing the device, he asked questions to the overseer. And after stealing it, instead of delivering the device to the employer, he decided to do a little digging. Using the equipment of some place called Area 51, he discovered that the device is a hard drive of some sort. The technology is cutting edge. Why would it be in some vault? He also learned that your vault was somehow connected to the US government, and that your Pip-Boy had a tracking device in it. What a surprise. Now it is removed, thanks to Jay. He doesn't want anyone to track you and him down. What he was unable to figure out is what information the hard drive contains. And there is no visible way of extracting it, so he kind of lost interest. He literally drops the device to the ground for you to pick up. But your friendly chit-chat is interrupted by someone's arrival. Perhaps Jay's employer is not very happy that his delivery is being late. We team up with Jay, agreeing to go our separate ways after it's over. The biker leaves. You have the device. Time to go back to Vault City. Your home meets you with corpses on the streets. Graves is here. He says someone assaulted the vault. Again. Paralyzed everyone. Again. And snatched the overseer. Jesus guys, lock the door next time, seriously. All inhabitants of Vault 8 have bugs in their Pip-Boys. What a surprise. Including the overseer. But they can't track him down, because he is already too far of the surveillance range. You need to find some kind of a radar station to pinpoint the exact location. You go to a place called Battle Mountain, an old radar station occupied by another gang of bikers. And despite being another gang, they behave exactly like the guys you've met before, getting wasted and high on tech. You get the radar facilities up and running and locate the overseer's Pip-Boy. It is somewhere to the north of Salt Lake City, and it moves very fast, like a train. You're gonna need something similar to chase them. Maybe there is some train in Salt Lake? Time to go. Salt Lake City, a beautiful town. The north part of it was destroyed by 12 nuclear missile hits, making it desolate. People of the south part managed to stay alive in little family vaults made by Prazer Incorporated, a rival of Vault-Tec of some sort. Despite being a rival company, it used Vault-Tec as a contractor. As for the Vault-Tec vault, it is still locked somewhere in the mountains. A huge salt lake, partially dried up, radioactive fallout washed into its waters. The ecological situation is really bad. But there is one local feature, a miracle of nature. A mutated water lily growing around the lake. It's nuts. Vocus. Remove radiation poisoning from the body. Just chew some every day and you'll be fine. So, despite a horrible environment, the residents thrive. The town is run by a steel hand of the local sheriff, who maintains strict law and order. Like in New Reno, there was also a civil war here. But the sheriff, with the help of a mysterious someone, managed to gather the worst criminals under his wing and use them to solve local conflicts. Then he betrayed them by driving them out of town for their crimes. Now they are residing in the Provo area to the south. Locals think they pose a danger, but for now it's fine. Salt Lake has a famous bar called Teen Angel, where Jolly Joe tells his stories. A great place to hang out. Also, there's a working Nuka-Cola factory, which is a city-forming enterprise and a huge contributor to its ecological situation. Cola is supplied into the bars all over the Nevada. You could become a partner too. But you are interested only in a train depot. The citizens avoid it because of the rumors about the ghost train. The place is haunted and also guarded by some stray robots. You don't care about any of this. Finding the train and doing a tremendous amount of work to fix it, you're ready to go. But it turns out that you need someone else to help drive it. You leave to find yourself a machinist or buy one. When returning, you are met by the sheriff. He knows you are going after the Overseer, and he also knows about the hooded figure you've encountered. He calls him the Reaper of Souls. They have a history of sorts together. It was the Reaper who helped the sheriff cleanse the city of criminals. In exchange, he demanded a tribute in the form of pure souls, those who are less radiated. The city's family vaults didn't all open at the same time, which allowed the Reaper to reap. But over the time, the local ecology and radiation did their job, so he kind of lost interest. The sheriff feels his guilt for the many lives sacrificed to the Reaper, so he doesn't want you to follow him. This will only result in you giving the Reaper exactly what he wants, he says. Blah blah blah. You deal with the sheriff and start your train. Time to go. The train takes you to a vault. What a design choice. Okay, let's face the inevitable. A couple of security turrets are no match to our scale. All we need to do is... Boom! Done. Going in. Hey, there's the Overseer. Hey buddy, why are you lying right beside the door? I guess that concludes our mission. Let's drag him out and be done with it. But looks like he's not going anywhere, so you talk instead. Turns out that the ones who kidnapped the Overseer already got what they wanted from him. You learn several things. 1. This place is a government vault, but now it's empty for some reason. 2. Those who lived here were quite keen on prolonging their lives. Apparently this place has facilities to do something with the bodies. Just look at Jay over there. The guy in robe you met earlier is a doctor originating from this place. Apparently he mutated himself beyond human capabilities using the local equipment. Vault 8 was used as a base to supply genetic material, which means bodies, to the government. It's a cloning facility. Yup, almost everyone in Vault 8 is a clone. You too? Okay, I don't get it. Maybe I will later. Let's run around. There's a couple of holodisks about what's happened in here. The story goes like this. The government had their own fancy vault to make it through the nuclear war. But despite being literally the most important people in the US, they were subjected to vault experimentations just like any other vault dwellers. There was something about the Nuka-Cola that made people kinda sensitive to others. So fistfights were a common thing around here. And one day, the actual president of the United States got his head literally ripped off. But the president is a very important person. His head is full of important things. We can't lose that, right? So, the Overseer and the local doctor, who you already know, plugged the head to some life support systems of the vault, and unfortunately to other systems. Without a body, the head went a little crazy over time, or maybe it was crazy before that, I don't know. Anyway, it subdued the systems of the place, making the life of inhabitants unbearable, to the point that they had to leave the vault and relocate to their reserve base at Oil Rig. You go to the lower level and meet the president and his precious Nixon doll. It has been a long time since they had any visitors, so he tries to murder you straight away, no reasoning. The fight here is mandatory, which sucks if you are doing a pacifist run. We don't. Okay, nothing else to do here. Let's bounce. On the way back, we are met by the Reaper. He wants the device. Why? He won't tell us. He has some plans for your vault maybe, it's written all over his face. But we don't really care at this point, so let's get sneaky and get to the train. Okay, done. Let's go home. And the vault is assaulted again. Looks like the Reaper beat us to it. Must have used the vertibird. Now he is more talkative. He tells you his plan. See, the humanity is fragile. It doesn't quite fit in today's world. It needs to become something better to survive. And it takes the will of a single person to carry it out. Sounds familiar? The Reaper has always been into some experimenting. Case in point, head of the president. And the tech of the government vault allowed him not only to do body transfers for important government workers, but also to conduct some additional research. So after the government forces left the place, he stayed behind to delve deeper into it. He ended up enhancing himself to 10 in every special attribute, and getting an ability to regenerate and to punch people for terrible 0 points of damage from a distance. Also, presumably, he made a little personal army of Frankensteins along the way. Unfortunately, for his little games he needs pure bodies, vault material. As Vault 8 were protected by strong security systems, and the deal Overseer had with the government, he couldn't just infiltrate it, so he used Salt Lake citizens for a while. After the supply dried out, he made a deal with the biker. The device contains all the necessary data about the cloning process, as well as programs for operating the vital systems of the vault, cloning and security included. The biker was supposed to extract and deliver it, which would allow the Reaper to take over the cloning facility. There was a slight hiccup, so the Overseer had to be taken out, but everything is cool now. Every person here will be used as a brick in the construction of a great new mankind. It will take some time, but will be inevitable and successful. Maybe you should have put down this raving lunatic right near the government vault. Let's reload the safe and bust his regenerating ass. Done. Let's go home. Who the hell are you guys? They say that the colonel wants to see me. The colonel? Who? Okay, looks like this guy is with the government. I mean those from the oil rig. The Overseer is dead, the Reaper is dead, so they are taking over. He wants you to hand him the device. All Vault 8 dwellers are to be subdued, with an intended purpose of being used as a supply of bodies. Fuck this. And that's the Fallout Nevada. Let's comprehend the story. First, what's good about it? It is full of memorable and interesting ideas. For example, the Vault 8 dwellers being clones fits the story of Vault City from Fallout 2 very organically. The idea of using clones to prolong the lives of important people from the evil government is also pretty cool. The government having their own vault and experiment on them is brilliant. Their story of relocating to the oil rig too. The Reaper of Souls is a great concept. It is something not done in the series before, to use the technology to become more than human. No FEV, no cyborg bullshit. He's basically a mutant without mutations. He is like another spin on Master. You can even justify his ideology. And the best thing about him is that he makes things personal. How, you ask? Well, with just a little tiny detail. Remember how he punched you in the face and got away with it? It really pissed you off, didn't it? Now about what's not so good about the story. Approximately 1/3 of the game's locations have no connection to it. I haven't even mentioned Vegas or Wind of War or Uranium City. You have other reasons to visit these places though. If you kill the Reaper near the government vault, the Enclave end boss feels quite detached. You have no connection to him. He's basically a random dude. The president's head is a wasted opportunity. Story-wise, it's completely optional. Also, you can't avoid a fight with it, which pisses me off. And maybe by this point you are like, yo, I played this game, this is not the story it had, it was different. What about the Reaper of Souls delivering the bodies to the government, or you being the clone of the president? Well, yeah, let's talk about it. Fallout of Nevada's development cycle spanned over 6 years, and the game's storyline was changed with each version to a different degree, just like amounts of content, dialogues, locations, etc. The story of previous versions revolved around so-called System of Security kit. Basically, your vault had one, but it broke down, and now your home is vulnerable to external threats, like the Raiders. It was quite cohesive as a story, at least in driving you through every major location of the game. There were less of them in total, no Black Rock and Gerlach, for example. The overall tone was also a little different. In Reno, people started following you and beg for food as you walked down the streets. In Hawthorne, every door was locked, which actually added to the atmosphere. There were 5 different endings, coming to 5 different end bosses, with an option to actually join them. There was a super stupid Raiders took over the vault ending. The game had things like a perk making you less visible for heat vision of aliens, or a water pistol shooting acid, or a notoriously famous Liberator gun, a one-shot pistol picked literally in some trash, which could be upgraded 12 times to become the most powerful gun in the game. On the other hand, there was a lot more silliness around. I mean mostly the dialogues, oh my god, they were unrefined. And some stuff like very complicated computer puzzles. And the possibility, I kid you not, to make a prank call to Vault 15 at some point. That was something. The mastermind behind the game, BlackDesigner, has one interesting trait. He knows the Fallout lore. I would say he knows it better than anyone ever. As evident by his other works, he went to great lengths to analyze every possible detail of classic Fallouts, trying to understand what makes them tick. As he started making this mod, he didn't really think about the story he wanted to tell, but about the world and the feeling he tried to convey. As the development progressed and the analysis of the series went deeper, he began to lean more toward the narrative-driven story and bleak world aesthetics of Fallout 1. He didn't want to make another Fallout 2, despite Nevada turning out to be exactly that, up to the main quest being the search of a suitcase to save your village. So one last attempt to overhaul the story with his new vision was made, but there was just too much to change for years of development. At some point, considering the amount of legacy code and all the excessive stuff, together with burning out from the project, it was deemed easier to redo everything from the ground up. So the game was released as is, with a half-baked story on the top of another story with the world that didn't really want to be bleak and loose ends sticking from every part. There were some plans about Fallout Nevada 2.0, a complete overhaul of an existing game, most notably in tone, with the design document complete. It would effectively cut off half of the current game map. The story would be entirely different, but the project was scrapped. Eventually, everything BlackDesigner wanted to implement in the game became Fallout Sonora. A beautiful, completely different Fallout. But what about Nevada's story? Everyone who played it regarded the main quest as bad, incohesive, badly conveyed, not finished. The Nevada is famous for its brilliant side content, not for the story. Still, does it look incohesive when I talk about it? That's because the thing with old free classic Fallout game mods, disregarded by their creators and with no plans to ever be officially translated into English, is that if you don't like something in them, you can do something about it. Despite everything said in the last 40 minutes, the biggest question still stands. Is the Fallout Nevada fun to play? Well, let me just tell you random things about it in no particular order. During the quest about the missing prospectors, you will find one of them in Black Rock. You can say that you will complete his mission for him and he will give you a metal detector. In addition to finding mines, the detector can also be used differently. Almost every location in the game, and I mean almost every location, has hidden stashes that you can discover using it. It works like this. You use the detector, and if you're lucky, it will tell you how many steps away from the treasure you are. All that's left is to find the right tile, repeating this while moving around. When you hit the right spot, you need a successful outdoorsman skill check to actually dig the treasure up, so there can be multiple tries. And it can result in getting something worthless, like a couple of dollars, but also something unique, like a broken Pip-Boy, which you can use to upgrade yours. You'll never know until you get it. So the typical scenario looks like this. You run across the location, mashing the use button of your metal detector. Then you get a signal and check every tile around, getting annoyed in anticipation. After finding the right spot, you mash button like crazy, hoping it's something good. You run around, mash button, open the box, run around, mash button, open the box, run around, mash button, open the box, run around, mash button, open the box. So yeah, basically Fallout Nevada invented loot boxes. But more importantly, by doing some optional quest, you get another layer of gameplay. Remember the perk to skin geckos from Fallout 2, which a certain trapper could teach you if you save him. To get this perk here, you have to do an actual multi-step gecko hunt, where you learn to use traps and a whistle to get your prey, and then steal a dozen of gecko eggs from their lair without killing them. By the way, about geckos, the Salt Lake region has a unique species found only here, acid gecko. Don't expect to meet fire geckos though. To the south of New Reno there is a mountain range. Walking through it, you can more than once encounter a tribe of cannibals. They use weapons made from old agricultural machinery. Their chief has a unique power fist called Flaming Kiss, which sets her victims on fire. Also, this tribe somehow domesticated Deathclaws. Don't want to bother smacking cannibals for that unique power fist. You can make another unique power fist from a toaster bought from some tribal. Or to find an EMP-powered fist and go punch robots near the Battle Mountain. There was supposed to be a secret location there called Sigma Base, but it was cut from the game. All that's left are these encounters with crazy robots. Farther south of New Reno there's nothing but scorched desert. There you have a chance to meet the caravan from the hub, led by a ghoul named Hardy. The trip is hardly worth it for him, so any could be his last. Want to move around a little faster? You can repair and then buy yourself a pickup truck from a mechanic in Wind of War. Then bragging to everyone about your uniqueness to find out that you're not the only one with a car. Seriously, why would you be? There's even a whole caravan using buses to transport people. You can buy a ticket. Or you can go to any tech guy in any town and chat about cars. There's a lot to talk about. With some luck, you can put a staggering amount of money into pimping your ride, because you can afford it. If you want something else to repair, why not to rebuild an abandoned town? A place is called Uranium City, because there is an old uranium mine. The locals have a tremors situation, so there are not many people there. But there is a guy from a union of atomic workers, an organization only mentioned in the first Fallout. He came with Hardy's caravan. And there is also a couple of humble Orientals from San Francisco. Want to get a power armor? There are two of them if you don't count the Enclave guy. One is worn by Biker Phil, and it works only barely, because he literally pulled it out from under the rubble at some ruined military base. Another one is worn by a general in Wind of War. That settlement was founded by descendants of Hawthorne's military, who survived the nuclear war in a vault used to test materials for their construction, basically in a vault's demo version. And the power armor that the general wears is also from Hawthorne, where it was used for weapon testing. That means it's wrecked. You can try to take the suit off any of these guys after killing them, but it's not going to be in working condition. I mean, it's basically a can. What did you expect? To simply put it on? So, to get a power armor for yourself, you have to make one. And to make one, you have to run around. A lot. Still not satisfied with building a power armor? Build your own Nuka-Cola trading empire. Become an official representative of the factory that produces it. Make deals with the largest venues. Organize the delivery lines. Sell tons of product every day and drown in profits. You can reenact the whole plot of Blind Fury in a chain of quests. Scratch that, you can play a drinking game, drinking every time the game quotes a movie. You can become a private investigator and solve a super convoluted drug case for a shitload of money. You can become a sheriff, a pizza delivery boy, a ring champion, organize a movie screening, or a heist. Make the son of a mob boss commit his first murder. Gather a jazz band and play live. Visit an eggplant farm and take a harvest. Find a special encounter with the developers of the game and get yourself an infinite source of experience. Rob every Nuka-Cola machine you find using counterfeit coins that you crafted and get an achievement for this. Pick a female character and become the most famous New Reno stripper. Avoid being raped by a crowd of fans and meet Ted Bundy. Use a metal detector to find a string. It allows you to silently one-shot anyone and not get a single point of experience for this. Strangle drug dealers, strangle slavers, strangle the mob boss of New Vegas for his unique gun. Boost your sneak and strangle every henchman of an end boss. Forget about the experience, you don't need it. Find a fucking tanker in the desert. Do you know what's inside? I'm not gonna tell you. Play the fucking game! If you still don't get it, I can talk about this game for hours. I'm a fan. Fallout of Nevada is a present for everyone who appreciates the classic Fallout experience. And it's super fucking good. I'm done. Go play it, I'm out. See you next time.